Hello vinyl community. Yep, I'm back and I'm doing another video. You thought maybe one was enough? Well no, I've decided that I need to create a bit more input. I did go back to a couple of my audios which I've uploaded. Thanks to those who watched them. I've also completed another review in camera of an album, and that will be on its way to you, and it'll probably arrive after this one. But this is courtesy of, I hope I get his name right, Richard McCook. I watched a few of his videos, and they were sort of best of videos, and he looked at decades. I think we had a look at, let me get myself more centered, he had a look at the 70s, the 80s and the 90s. Well, I'm going to follow suit. I know I'm a bit slow on this, but you know, I'm a new member. The first thing I want to say is, since I left the UK and came to Thailand, my vinyl has dropped dramatically. When I was in the UK, I used to buy loads and loads of vinyl. I had over 1,000 LPs by the time I said goodbye, but I couldn't bring all those here, so I basically sold 800 of them for very little money in London, and I got 200 transferred via boat, and I have them here, but I don't use them that much. So I'm a bit of a cheat on this vinyl community, because most of my material now is digital MP3s. I have got some CDs as well, and I've got loads of cassettes. But that's just to put you in the picture about how I listen to music. So it's digital MP3. I do also listen in FLAC, but I'm a bit of a tight sod, so I like to get the files pretty slick. So here goes. I'm going to do the 80s. Now Richard had 40. I'm going to try and do 40 as well. But I'm going to do it in two videos because I talk too much. So I'm going to start at 40 and head down to 21. This will be part A. And I'm going to constantly be flicking at my list on this book because I'm old. Okay, let's get started. Some of the ones that didn't make top 40, and there's a pretty hot list of those. Private Eyes by Hall & Oates, Touch, the Eurythmics, Closer, the second Joy Division album, Highland High Road, Hard Rain, Aztec Camera, their debut album, The River by Springsteen. Wow, I was a bit shocked when I wrote that down. Eden, this is the debut album by Everything But the Girl, gorgeous album. Road to Hell, Chris Rea. All of these I love really. Journeyman, Eric Clapton, he's God to me. A Kind of Magic, Queen. Never Forever, Kate Bush. I'm starting to get into her a little bit. Alf by Alison Moyet. 3 great singles on that, and there's a woman attached to that particular choice. Cafe Bleu, the first album by the Style Council. The Gaucho, the last album by the first Stevie Dan. Uprising, that's a Bob Marley album of course, and 17 Seconds by The Cure. Oh, and finally Hypnotised by the Undertones. So those are the ones that didn't get into that top 40. You're probably thinking, what the hell's he going to choose then? Well, once again, going along with Richard, I'll only be choosing one by one artist. None of these sort of half a dozen albums by the Beatles or anything like that. So starting at number 40, it's Juju by siousxie and the Banshees. I love playing this album with headphones on, really loud, and in the depths of night. Spellbound and Arabian Nights are particularly riveting and full of atmosphere. Next up is Rum, Sodomy and the Leash at 39. This is an album by the Pogues. I'm not a great fan of this type of music. Well, I say I've grown into it, but I really love this one, and it was a pretty radical album at the time with the Irish problem in Belfast And one that really caught my eye was a pair of brown eyes. A tremendous video, that one, and certainly one that I remembered. 38 is Soul Mining by The. This is the band formed by Vince Clarke after the collapse of that band that he had with Alison Moyet, and I can't remember the name of it now. Doubtless you will. But Erasure, was it? No. Anyway, Soul Mining, a very, very competent album, very interesting. It's great rock music on this. Next up at 37 is This Is the Sea by the Waterboys. Became a fan of them, the album before, but I chose this one instead of A Pagan Place, possibly because of tracks like The Whole of the Moon and Medicine Bow, which I particularly like, and the title track. At 36 is Diesel and Dust. Now, I really love this album. I went around the world in '88, and I went to Australia, and I had this in my possession and played it to death, and of course the Aussies loved it. But it is an absolute tremendous piece of work, possibly their best. And of course Beds Are Burning, a notorious album about indigenous rights, and Throw Down That Weapon, I like that as well. 35 is the double set by Marvin Gaye, Midnight Love and Sexual Healing. Yep, it's polished sort of stuff. Night and Day is next up, and that is at 34. That is the Joe Jackson album. This is when he started to mix in sort of Latin flavoured percussions with sort of high dramatic ballad rock. But I do like it, and there's a tremendous track, and I'm just trying to find the title of it. A Slow Song, which closes the album, and the hit single Stepping Out, which is a real great song. Up next is 33, and that's The End of the Innocence by Don Henley. There's 4 tracks on this album that are absolutely marvellous. New York Minute, the title track, The End of the Heart of the Matter, and Last Worthless Evening. Got there in the end. The rest is pretty MOR, but those 4 are really classic. Got into a lot of trouble with my review of this one, but I won't bore you. I had to take it down. Next up at 32 is the George Michael album, his first after Wham sort of disappeared, Faith. Could we ever forget that image of him in the leather jacket with the acoustic guitar? But it's a great album. I've grown to love it. Father Figure, of course, is a strong one as well on that album. So we're now at 31, and I've chosen Introducing the Hardline by Terence Trent D'Arby. A lot of hype about this young man when he arrived on the music scene. This album was well received, but then the journalists decided that they were going to really cripple him when he released the follow-up. But this is a cracker, and there's another good one down the line called Vibrator. But then he disappeared off the planet, but it's an excellent album. Wishing Well is a track that I do like. I'm going to put that book there. I might be able to see it a bit better. The trouble is the light in here is shocking. It's the middle of the evening here in Thailand. At 30, Sting, Nothing Like the Sun. I played this one to death, 1982. Of course, it's got Sister Moon on it and Fragile. And I love it. I love Sting. He went off the tracks a bit later, but those early albums, absolutely mega. 29. Well, you might be surprised to know, but I've selected Thriller by Michael Jackson. I know, yes, I know. We're supposed to be rockheads here, but my goodness me, what an album, you know. He was overrated for certain, but this with that direction, of course, that production, absolutely tremendous. And the three hits, Beat It, Thriller, and Billie Jean. Who could forget those? So that's my 29. 28. This is the first soloed album by Tom Petty. Previously done some albums with the Heartbreakers. This one, there weren't too many Heartbreakers on this one, and it caused a bit of a dispute. Although Mike Campbell did turn up on the guitar. I love it. I really do love this album. But all of those early Heartbreakers albums are extraordinary as well. Starting off in '78 and moving through the '80s. But this one from 1989, Full Moon Fever. And then to 27, and that's Amnesia. This is by Richard Thompson. I'm a big fan of Richard's. I've grown to love him over the years. And Gypsy Love Songs is the highlight here. So moving on, we're at 26. This is Neither Washington nor nor Moscow. Neither Washington nor Moscow by the Redskins. This band were heavily involved in the Rock Against Racism concerts in the 80s that was highlighting the plight of one Nelson Mandela held in a Cape Town prison by the apartheid regime. And I saw the Redskins, and they were extremely left-wing, but absolutely brilliant. A mix of sort of reggae rock, and did they get stuck in live. But they didn't make many albums, maybe one other than this, but this is an extraordinary effort. Next up, 25, New York by Lou Reed from 1989. I'm not a great fan of Lou's. You might have caught my review of this album. It really is, as far as I see it, his best since Transformer. I love it. Dirty Boulevard, Romeo and Juliet, and a few others. The Story of the Great Whale, or something like that. Let's move on. 24, another one from 1989. Oranges and Lemons by XTC. Very difficult to choose one from this band. English Gentleman, Black Sea. They're all cracking albums, really, and it is very, very difficult to know which one is the best. I chose this one because I played it a bit more, but there is a couple of extraordinary tracks, King for the Day and Chalk Hills and Children. So we're getting near the halfway mark now, and it's 23. From the Lion's Mouth by a band called The Sound, a British band. I really fell in love with this band. They sort of arose at the same time as U2, and many critics viewed them as a sort of a more sort of how can I say it, more underground type of U2, a more curious U2, and in many ways their music carries more sort of weight because it's got that sort of dark feeling about it. It's new wave for sure, but it's very dark, and a lot of that's due to the lead singer and guitar player and writer of all the songs, Adrian Borland. And I bought all their albums. They made about 5, and tragically he committed suicide at the beginning of the 90s. But From the Lion's Mouth, it's got this tremendous cover of Daniel and the lion in the lion's den. And the tracks to look out for on that, Sense of Purpose and Willing. So we're now at 22, just 2 more to go till we get to half time. Sound Effects by The Jam. Big Jam fan by this time. I'd seen them live. Start and That's Entertainment, 2 big hits, but it's a mega album, this, and there's a lot of Jam albums to choose from as well, but I went for this one. And now to 21, it's John Martyn, Grace and Danger. I've got a lot of time for the deceased John. He made a lot of great albums in the 80s. He got that throaty sort of vocal, and his use of guitar was extraordinary. This album, he pulled in Phil Collins to produce, and Phil also played drums. Released in 1980, and the tracks that stand out: Some People Are Crazy and Sweet Little Mystery. They are absolutely gorgeous. Check them